Republican Educational Film Strip Productions presents The Nuclear Option. What is it? Congressman Steve King knows.
Reconciliation, that sounds real nice and gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the nuclear option.
The nuclear option is reconciliation. Congressman King knows his talking points, and Senator John Kyle knows even more of them.
Democrats have already decided on this so-called nuclear option or reconciliation process.
You see, in order for the nuclear option to be reconciliation, it has to be done by Democrats. Confused? So is poor Senator Judd Gregg back in 2005.
Reconciliation is a rule of the Senate. All this rule of the Senate does is allow a majority of the Senate to take a position and pass a piece of legislation.
So reconciliation is not the nuclear option when Republicans do it. How can you be sure when it is the nuclear option? Senator Kyle knows.
It's a budget exercise, and that's why some refer to it as the nuclear option.
That's right. It is when we say it is. It's that simple, kids. Here's a quick test. See what you've learned.
Now, is there something wrong with majority rules?
If you answered, I have to check with Frank Muntz first. Congratulations. You understand the nuclear option. That's all for today, kids. Tomorrow will be what we say it is.
Tomorrow will be what we say it is. That's the talking points for today. Reconciliation has been used extensively in the past. It does not require changing any of the Senate rules. Republicans had absolutely no problem with reconciliation. They have used reconciliation 16 times out of the last 22 times reconciliation was used. The idea that they're conflating the nuclear option, which does require that the Senate change its rules in midstream, which you can't do by virtue of the Senate rules, which is what Bill Frist wanted to do in 2005. That's the nuclear option. Trent Lott named it the nuclear option, by the way, because Trent Lott thought it sounded all important and powerful. And he wanted to give it a real... And Bill Frist hated that name. He said, oh, no, it sounds too dangerous. The American people are going to be frightened by it. But this was what they were doing when Priscilla Owen, I wonder if you remember her name at all, was nominated by Bush. And the Democrats didn't want her, and they were filibustering. You had Bill Frist, the majority leader in the Senate, who was in the Senate for about 5 minutes. He owned a hospital chain, you know. And he wanted to change the rules in the middle of the Senate session. And so he said, we're going to, invoke the nuclear option. He said, just don't call it the nuclear option, because he didn't want it to sound so explosive. But Trent Lott loved it. He was the first one to call the GOP plan. Killing the filibuster is explosive. It's an explosive move in the Senate. Let's call it the nuclear option. Now, they were going to blow up the Senate rules in the middle of a session after the Democrats had confirmed 205 of George Bush's judicial nominees. 205 were confirmed. 10 of them did not meet the Democrats' standards, and they said, no, we don't want these 10. 205 times they said, okay, he's the president. 10 times, like Harriet Miers and Priscilla Owen and a few real, wackos had come down the pike. I'll tell you something. Bill Clinton nominated 443 people. He got confirmed 372. That means 71 of his judicial nominees did not get confirmed. 71. Nobody threatened to blow up the Senate. Herbert Walker, he nominated 242 judges. 192 of them were confirmed. 50 of them we said no to. Ronald Reagan nominated 403. 375 of them went through. 28 got turned down. Bush got 10 turned down, and Bill Frist was threatening to blow up the Senate. As long as they can lie faster than I can debunk their lies, the Republicans think they could stay a step ahead of us. And that is really the name of the game. The name of the game is bamboozling the American people. Now, just be very clear. They're the ones who threatened to change the filibuster rules in the middle of a session. Okay? Reconciliation is not that. it is part of the Senate rules. It is a process to pass legislation with a simple majority of votes if that piece of legislation has an effect on the deficit. And it used to be that it had to have an effect on lowering the deficit. But the Republicans changed that too. The Republicans said, well, we want to do these tax cuts, and they will increase the deficit by trillions of dollars, but we don't care because we know we don't have the votes. So we're going to ram that through reconciliation, and they did.